What defines an archetype? What defines a boss monster? With the release of Yu-Gi-Oh! Outlaw, these are the two questions I have been asked the most over the past week due to the heavy limitation on both archetypal cards and archetypal boss monsters within the format. In modern Yu-Gi-Oh!, an archetype's game plan is set in stone from conception, with little room for exploration, while also having boss monsters that take this game plan to an overwhelmingly strong level, letting them close out games with ease. The aim of the format is to break the pre-constructed nature of modern Yu-Gi-Oh! In favor of letting a duelist create what they think is truly powerful. Ask yourself, are you a duelist that values overwhelming might above all else? Or do you value controlling the board with perfectly timed tricks and traps to gain an advantage in resources? Or do you believe there is a strategy that goes above and beyond both of these ideas? To begin with, what defines an archetype? Per the rules of Yu-Gi-Oh! Outlaw, an archetype is a group of 5 or more main deck cards that have similar names, such as Madolche or V-Trooper, have a named group in their card text, such as Dogmatica with Nadir Servant, or that mention the same card repeatedly, such as King Sarcophagus on the Horus cards, or Metalmorph on the Metal cards. In order to allow player expression and make identification of archetypes as easy as possible, these are the only rules in place that dictate whether a card is archetypal or not. Because of this, there are some cards that are archetypal in a sense, but manage to slip by unnoticed. Terrors of the Hidden City is a notable example of this due to its very clear connection with the Sub-Terror archetype, but it not mentioning any archetypes within its text means it is classified as non-archetypal for the purposes of the format. Similarly, Eidos, the Underworld Squire, does not meet the requirements of an archetype under the rules and is treated as non-archetypal as well. Lastly, is a single exception to the rule so that 90% of the Xyz monster pool is not auto-banned. Number cannot be treated as an archetype when determining if a card is archetypal. Other archetypes they could belong to, such as Tachyon, can still classify them as archetypal. Once again, using the rules of Yu-Gi-Oh! Outlaw, an archetypal boss monster has been defined as any monster that fits the above archetypal description, while also having 2 or more of the following. 2500 plus attack or the ability to go above said attack. Should a monster's attack reach 5000 or higher, that monster will automatically be classified as a boss monster. Repeatable quick effect removal, including trigger effects that activate on your opponent's turn, such as Sprite Sprind or Melfi of the Forest. Floodgate effects that prevent your opponent from playing the game in some way, such as the Tikaboo effect on Ocean Dragon Lord Kairyushin. Continuous unconditional protection, such as protection from targeting, destruction, battle, or card effects, such as with Red Eye's Dark Dragoon, quick effect negation, including trigger effects that activate on your opponent's turn, or the start of resource loops. A resource loop in this scenario is defined as special summoning from the deck, searching spells, traps, or monsters that grant access to an engine, such as Sword Soul Grandmaster Jishao, floating into other monsters, recursion of resources via adding them back to hand, shuffling them into deck, special summoning them, etc., or repeatable card draw. This quick checklist allows players to quickly and easily determine if a powerful archetypal monster is legal for play in the format without needing to cross-reference any lists or outside information. Once again, the goal here is efficient identification and ease of understanding, so I would like to use a few submitted cards as examples of how to use this checklist. As a side note, before getting into the examples, if a card checks the same box twice, such as having 2 resource loop effects, it will only count against it once. When determining if Erebus is a boss monster by the rules of the format, it's actually pretty simple, but not for the reason you might think. First things first, he's certainly archetypal, thanks to listing Monarch in both his name and in his text, and stat-wise, he already checks the 2500 or more attack box. His first effect thankfully avoids the quick effect removal clause due to only being on summon, unlike Shurai's, which happens on any special summon. His second effect, however, starts to cause problems due to recurring resources from the graveyard, violating the Start of Resource Loops clause. With 2 violations to his name, Erebus, the Underworld Monarch, is banned from play in Yu-Gi-Oh! Outlaw. Similarly to Erebus, Borreload Savage Dragon is another monster with several violations to his name. Quick Effect Negate, breaks 5000 attack with the right equip, but the question here comes from its archetype. There's no mention of groups or cards within its text, and the archetype it's from is called Rocket, so, since it's called Borreload Savage Dragon, everything seems to check out.
Objection! While Borreload Savage Dragon is not a rocket monster by name, it is still a Borrel monster. Looking through the game's database, there are not just 5, but 8 cards that are named Borrel, meaning Savage Dragon here won't be getting off the hook so easily.
The Playmaker of Orcust is an interesting case. For starters, he's archetypal thanks to listing Orcust in his title, and he manages to hit 2500 attack. But that's about where the violations end. His protection effect is conditional, and just barely manages to not break the continuous protection clause. Additionally, despite Babel making his send a quick effect, cards must be examined in a vacuum, meaning that this is a spell speed 1 removal effect that is completely legal under the rules. With that in mind, it is clear to see that Longirsu is, beyond a shadow of a doubt, legal.
Objection! While this may be true, you've conveniently neglected to mention the activation requirement for Longirsu's send. Target 2 of your banished machine monsters, shuffle them into the deck. Sounds a lot like a violation of the resource loop clause to me. Between that and his 2500 attack, Longirsu won't be in this format anytime soon.
In the coming weeks, I plan on making videos on some of the wonderful decks the community has made so far, as well as uploading match replays, tournaments, and other fun surprises down the line. If you'd like to join the community, feel free to join the Discord listed in the description below, and leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, happy hunting, Outlaws!